Yeah, Rasheed and I met up on Bumble Biz like
All
a
right.
couple of
Well, hey,
years.
no judgment here.
I'm glad he clarified it now because he'd be like, yeah, we met on Bumble. I'm like, hey, no, you need to clarify that. They got a business there.
Hey, look, Rasheed, you're hustling every day. Like, no judgment. Like, you had to survive, right? Like, hey,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's gotta figure out tomorrow. But yeah, no, we
he's gonna
met
get
and
you
we just
dinner and drinks. Like, hey, might as well hear him out, right?
Yeah.
Hey everyone, it's David Stark from Watcher Pass, and I'm talking to Rasheed Stevens and Tehben Dean of All I've Got and Then Some, which is coming to theaters on September 6th, 2024. I'm going to talk to them right now, and while you're watching, if you can like, subscribe to this channel, that would be fantastic. I'll spread a lot. Thank you. So, thanks so much for joining me today. I've got Rasheed Stevens and Tehben Dean of All I've Got and Then Some, which is coming to theaters on September 20th, 2024. It is a heartfelt kind of coming of age film that feels very, very authentic. It feels like maybe it's drawn from Rasheed Stevens' own experience. It is definitely drawn from his experience growing up in LA, growing up as trying to like make it as a comic, living in his car, some of the, very realistic scenarios, some of the insane scenarios that happened to him during this time. It is a kind of beautiful, heartfelt film. It definitely goes through a lot of the trials and tribulations of just one day in his life. So I am very excited to talk to you, and thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you
thank
for
you.
having us.
Of course. So, how did this come about? Like, how did you decide to tell this story, Rasheed, and how did you and Tevin meet up?
I'll let Tevin say
Um, yeah, Rasheed and I met up on Bumble Biz like
All
a
right.
couple of
Well, hey,
years.
no
A
judgment here.
I'm glad he clarified it now because he'd be like, yeah, we met on Bumble. I'm like, hey, no, you need to clarify that. They got a business there.
Hey, look, Rasheed, you're hustling every day. Like, no judgment. Like, you had to survive, right? Like, hey,
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
gotta figure out tomorrow. But yeah, no, we
he's gonna
met
get
and
you
we just
dinner and drinks. Like, hey, might as well hear him out, right?
Yeah. Hey,
uh,
buy me a sandwich.
but yeah, absolutely. But yeah, no, we just clicked and then I shot a teaser for a project Rasheed was pitching and we just became friends. And then a couple years later, we he film another film of his was getting off the ground and I was going to shoot it and we were basically getting going into casting and then the SAG strike got announced and everything just shut down. And so we pretty much were just like, all right, well, we got to do something this summer. And I was like, one night after that, I was sitting there thinking about what to do. And I remembered an idea that Rasheed had pitched me, which was to do a web series about a guy who's living in his car and dating a girl who lives two cars behind him, based on his experience like years ago when he first moved to LA. And it kind of clicked. I was like, okay, well, that's an interesting story. But I was like, let's make it into a feature film and we'll make it more shift it to be about like his struggle to be a stand-up comedian at the time.
Mhm.
And the next day I gave him a call and told him that and he said, dude, I was literally thinking about the same idea last night. And he called he while we were talking, he called this girl that he was talking to last night. He's like, tell Tevin that I told you about his idea last night.
Yeah.
So we were both thinking about it, like I think at
Same time.
exactly the same time.
Crazy.
And it was kind of like, all right, well, the universe just said something, so we have to do it. And so we sat down and mapped it out. And like I think 3 weeks later, we shot for a week
Mhm.
and then edited, and here we are.
I can
Yeah.
see why you matched on Bumble, just like on the same wavelength. It's just a perfect
Yeah.
match.
Yeah.
Technology is amazing.
Yep.
So this was like because of the SAG-AFTRA strike, you were able to make this film because I assume it was an indie film and it was underneath, it was exempt from the strike rules. Is that how this kind of like project bubbled to the top of your ability, or
Yeah, I mean, we also shot it like the week before the strike actually happened.
cover your bases?
We were like, let's just get it in, let's get it in and get it over with. But yeah,
Yes.
no, I mean, that it is the kind of project that wasn't, that's not what SAG was worried about.
Yeah. Yes.
So,
We
Tevin,
we
have you
want
seen? Oh, go ahead.
no, I said we just wanted to work.
Yeah, yeah, no, that strike was insane. Like it was just an insane thing to happen, and insane to like see everyone all of a sudden not able to do the projects that they loved. And so I'm glad that you were able to at least film it before, and then able to work on it during the strike to keep yourselves occupied.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
So Tevin, had you seen Rasheed like do stand up before this, or did you connect simply just like because of the the ideas and the filming interest?
I think I'd been to like one or two shows of his, and I also just like the thought that the story itself is just inspiring because it's about not, he really put everything on the line to do what he loved, and that's something that I've done. That's something that I think most people in Hollywood are doing or have done. I think a lot of people outside of Hollywood, are faced with that dilemma too. So I just felt like it was an it was a inspiring and very personal story, even though it's like on the face of it, it's a film about stand up in Hollywood. But then behind that, it's about not giving up on your dreams. And so, yeah, I don't know. That it was very personal to me because of that as well.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, the just the story of like packing up your life and driving to LA, that's the like romantic view of how you make it in Hollywood. But then seeing kind of the reality of what that might end up being was an interesting kind of like dichotomy here. Just seeing like, Rasheed was doing whatever he could. He was definitely like, making it work, but it seemed like a very kind of like difficult existence.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, both times I moved to LA too was kind of like a bit of a just like, all right, I'm gonna do it. Because I moved down before the pandemic, and I had like maybe two people that I knew down here. And then I was gone during the pandemic, and then once that kind of had sort of mostly wrapped up, I was like, you know what, I'm going back, and I just put everything in my car and drove back. Um, it's because it's like there's only so much planning you can do, and there's never kind of the right time or the right position to be in, to do something like that. And it is, it's kind of scary. You just land and you're like, all right, what next? Got to
Yeah.
find a place to stay. Got to figure out how to pay for it,
You
you know?
just miss the high prices, the traffic, all the beauty of LA. You just miss it all. So, Rasheed, how did you then like narrow down your experiences into like one day? Was this based on a real day? I assume not, because some of those transit times were highly unrealistic in LA, traffic. But was this based on like one real day that you had, or were these just different experiences that you had? And you're like, well, we'll string these together and show like the different things that could have happened to me in one day of my life.
So Tehben came up because we originally script was written out to be traditional, but then Tehben came up with the idea to make kind of consolidate a lot of different a plethora of things that happen in script and uh, make it a day in life. But I've had some days where I've met maybe six people like that in one day.
Oh,
True or
wow.
not, because I didn't have only had my car for a while, but then after a while, I was literally homeless on the street. So, but I told myself because I didn't ever want to admit I was homeless. So I would never sleep on the streets. I would always sleep inside like the Denny's, or I would sleep on top of the dryers in the people apartment building. I wait till they go to sleep and put a quarter in there once it start getting cold and sleep on those dryers. But I slept on the street probably three times the actual streets. But I'm like, I'm not homeless. I would never again like I was not going to capitulate to that. So I was like, I am not homeless. I will be rich one day. And I'm talking about culturally rich first before the monetary economics. But yeah, so a lot of those crazy stories definitely happen in one day. But as far as the script, Tevin came up with the idea to make it a day in life of. And then most of those, 98% of those encounters happen in real life.
And I do love that your mentality of you're not going to admit that you're homeless. It kind of fits with the like it's the best day of my life tagline that you say throughout the thing. Like you're trying to look on the bright side. You're trying to like be optimistic in what's going to happen. And even in like your worst situations, you're like I will be fine. I just have to like get through this and keep going, keep grinding.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of times people don't, they, I see this happening a lot, even more in LA, because you got so many dreamers out here, so many people that's willing to take the biggest risk in the world. You got a combination of us all in one place, and a lot of times people are unkind to themselves. Their internal thoughts of what they say to themselves will sometimes manifest into the wrong thing. So that's why I always tell people best day of my life, because I'm like you. Sometimes I have some thoughts, but watch what I do. I'm like, no, fuck you, Rasheed. Nah, I will have those thoughts, and I tell myself, fuck you. Then I say, I love you. I like to hug myself 28 times just to start it, to just kind of just reinforce who I am. I'm Rasheed Hassan Stevens. I love you. because I can't love you without loving myself. So I'm like, you got to be kind to yourself. So yeah, that's what all that about, all that kind of rhetoric. I don't want to even call it rhetoric, just all those affirmations that become confirmations. That's how I move for real in real life.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I noticed that you have walls, so I assume you were doing much better than you were in the movie, unless that's a really, really good,
Hey,
zoom filter.
this a good tent I'm living in now.
So those Amazon like tiny homes you can order, and they'll just deliver it to
Matter
wherever.
of fact, let me get in front of my wolf. Let me talk to my buddy. I got a new friend right here. I'm gonna walk in front of him because
All right.
I forgot you guys haven't met him yet. This is Mr. Wolf right here.
Oh, I love it. I love it. It's good
Oh,
mentality.
him. Yeah, yeah.
um, so like, I assume that you had, did you have more experiences as you were kind of whittling these down? Did you just write like basically a giant storyboard, or did you kind of have did you map all of them out and then just kind of like go because you only had like a week to film? Did you were there more things that might have happened in that day that were cut, or were you very meticulous and kind of, I don't know, determined in how you made this film?
No, it's
I'll
actually.
be quick. Go ahead. Go ahead, Tim.
I was going to say that, yeah, no, we basically, like, because we didn't write a traditional script for this, we essentially just, it was like 2 pages, and we just wrote out every scene and a description of the story of what happens in every scene. And, because we only shot in 7 days, we did not shoot anything extra. I went back and looked at looked at the script like a long time like after we had like finished shooting, like after we finished posting everything, and I think like maybe after it had come out at the first festival, I went back and looked, and it really was like there was very few changes from how we planned it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how we.
But if we did write the whole script out traditionally, there definitely are some interesting stories that happened to me. I remember one time when I was homeless. It was cold. It was cold outside. I had just met these dudes. These dudes were older than me. I was in my early 20s. I'm freshly dropped out of college. And I kind of befriended them. They were aspiring filmmakers too. But I remember they was talking like the way they was talking, I thought they had already had accomplished a lot, but these guys had been out here for 4 or 5 years. They were talking about what they wanted to do this short film. But I remember one day, the dude, somebody, I hear it's like 2 o'clock in the morning, somebody's banging on my window. It's these two guys who I know, they're like in their late 20s. I'm like 21, 22. They're like, hey, I wrote on my window. I'm scared because I'm on a dark street. I'm like, who's knocking on my window? Am I getting robbed? They're like, hey, Sheed, man, you mind if we stay with you for a couple of days? I'm like, what? Man, I already don't have that much room. So I remember they slept in my car. And then I remember another story one time. I was asleep. I woke up. It was another homeless dude sleeping in my car. I don't know how the hell he got in my car. Don't know. So there's so many interesting stories that happened throughout that journey that I could go on and on about the interesting stories that I've had throughout this journey. I know as well as Tehben could tell you a plethora of things, but that's what made me who I am, though. So I think every story makes people who they are. That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and your
Yeah, I mean,
reaction
we
to I was gonna say your reaction to that situation is more impressive. Like they were there, you didn't like beat them up or kick them out. You're just like, okay, well they're here, and like we're all trying to survive. I assume. I mean, I guess I don't know exactly what you did, but I assume you were just like, we're all trying to survive. It's
Yeah,
fine.
because the thing that broke my heart, he was like, man, I was just cold. That's all he said. I'm like, we didn't have dialogue at all. He just got out because it was like it's 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm shocked. I'm like, and he looked at me. He was like, man, it was cold. I'm like, that was the only thing we said to each other. Never saw that dude again.
So,
yeah.
Tehben, do you have anything else?
I was just going to say that in terms of the stories that we picked, I think that was we when we sat down to write the script, it was just telling a lot of stories, and figuring out which ones would flow throughout the film, and the idea of having him be driving rideshare was not that wasn't real, but we put that in there because it was a great way to kind of
Move the
transition,
story.
like thread follow all the thread everything together, and get it all because we really wanted him to be like all over town, like doing all these different things just constantly, like hustling for the next
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah, sure. And so when for the cast in this, I was curious, like, it's given you made it in a week, given you made it like right before the SAG strike, or these like your friends that were just kind of like thrown in here? Are these people that you experienced this with, or were these, did you do like a casting call for this and just like really quickly throw everyone together? Or maybe
It was
a combination?
It was an amalgamation of all those things. So 10% of them were actual stand-up comics in the movie. Then we had a percentage, about 30% were actually real actors that we casted. We did a last minute casting call. Our producer, Maka, did that casting call. And then about 10% was Tehben people, some of his friends, and 10% was my friends. So it was just like a combination of all these dreamers that wanted to make something. We had dreamers that dared to do something. Matter of fact, our third leading actress, Naiya, she came on 30 minutes before we was about to shoot.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, it was literally the first day, the first scene we were shooting, and our original actress was on set, and she was like be kind of agitated, and I feel like Rasheed was trying to figure something out. We were like literally like 15 minutes behind schedule, and she's like, I was in the military, like I don't know what this does. I've never worked on a set like this before. What's going on? And I was like, oh my God. So I went to Rasheed and I was like, dude, this is not gonna work. Like this is not gonna work. This is a bad idea. Like we and then after I had the conversation with him, I walked back out to our co-producer Amaka and to talk to her about it. And she was like, she just left. She walked off. And I was like, okay. So then Amaka called another person that she had I guess already talked to, and it was Naiya, and it was like, do you want to do it? And Naiya was like, sure. And she's like, can you be here in 30 minutes? And she literally showed up 30 minutes later, and then was amazing throughout the rest of the film.
That's amazing. That's
We
really
didn't freeze
lucky
under
too.
pressure at all. No freezing under pressure.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
exactly. That is really lucky. I was curious, in the film, you FaceTime with your dad back in Atlanta. Was that your actual dad? Did you FaceTime with your actual dad in Atlanta? I was curious.
That's my real father. That was his first time on screen, and you know, he was I guess stubborn would be a euphemism. He didn't want to. He volunteered to do it, but then he said he didn't want to do it. I'm like, Dad, I think I've never acted before. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm like, just do this. All right, well, y'all just. So it was a lot of people love that moment. My dad just being my dad. That's all that stuff I say about my father in the movie is actually true. That's my father in real life. My dad has one of the biggest hearts in the world, the biggest love for you. But then sometimes he could be very unorthodox in what he says and what he does, and he could be crass sometimes. But like I said, he's the most loving person in the world.
And good business sense too. I mean, honey and incense, like in LA,
Yeah.
perfect.
I still think I still will never forget that. So I'm gonna be quick with this. I never forget this. I'm in my car. I'm like maybe 2 days without eating, and I probably had some water that's kept me. But I remember I said I got to tell somebody what situation I'm in. Again, my family, they're culturally rich, economically poor. But I said, let me just tell my dad what I'm going through. At this time, I think my father was out of work anyway. I don't know what he was doing, but I think he was hustling, bustling. But I said, Daddy, man, do you mind sending me something? Like, we didn't have Cash App. We talking about 2012. So the only way they could send money was through, what is that called?
Western Union?
Yeah, Western Union.
Yeah.
I asked him, he's like, son, let me just send you something. I remember at this time, this is how I ended up finding his apartment that I ended up staying at, that I crashed on his couch, because he said, just find the nearest apartment complex. I'm going to send you a package with some stuff for you. You're going to be good, son. He's like, use your ID and tell them that you just moved from Georgia and that you live here. But he gave me this elaborate way to intercept the package. He's like, if your name and your ID match, then they'll give you a package. I remember getting a package. Went back to my car. I'm like, "Ooh, I'm about to eat. Ooh, I'm about to eat." I opened up the package. He's like, "Son, you got it?" I'm like, "Fuck is this, man? It's honey and incense." Never forget what he said. He said, "Man, that's Hollywood, man." I said, in my mind, I'm like, nobody, because in my mind, I think that's a hotel thing where people in New York only buy honey and incense. I never forget. I went to that Trader Joe's on Vine in Hollywood. I sold out for like the first 30 minutes. called my dad. Called my dad back. I said, "You son of a bitch! You're a very intelligent man. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I ended up buying me a couple of 9 perishable groceries from Trader Joe's. I had enough food to eat for about a week and some."
That's awesome. That is fantastic. A great insight on his part to like know what to send in a very, very different place. That's amazing.
Yeah, because he said if you don't sell that organic honey, he was like, honey can also hold your stomach too, and it's healthy. So. And then he said, instance, if you got a date, your car won't smell bad.
Very practical. I love it.
Yeah.
I also loved in the film, there's a podcast moment where you're on a podcast with someone else and the person drops that he is about to, I think he either starred in the movie or was about to start in the movie. I looked that movie up. I was like, oh, wait, that's Rasheed Stevens' movie. So that's awesome. That was a nice little like name drop in there.
Yeah. Yeah, we did that
Yeah,
with East Point too, though.
yeah. The film he auditions for is the film that we were trying to make before the strikes happened.
So fingers crossed that that'll come out at some point too.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, we're parlaying that into everything.
So is Tehben then the asshole casting director that you that you have to interact with for that part?
No, oh no. We actually hired one. I'm not gonna speak on her name yet, but we got some things in motion with that. But I actually, man, I don't know why I be doing stuff like this sometimes. I get there to these auditions and I start talking shit. That actually happened to me in real life. I'm talking shit about audition I'm about to go to. I'm not talking shit about it. I've auditioned for this lady, man. She don't know what the hell she talking about. She don't know talent. I didn't realize that was her in the elevator. It was her casting assistant. And I get in a room like, oh shit, fuck, I just. It ended up being one of my better auditions. My manager said, "Wow, that was pretty." They thought it was pretty good. I'm like, for real? I called her an asshole.
I mean, it makes you stand out, right? Like they say in Hollywood, there's no such thing as bad publicity. So it makes you stand out from the pack of people that are coming through. So
Yeah.
so I know we have very limited time. I'm just switching just a couple really quick follow-up questions or just lightweight questions about the film. I want to see how your personal experiences map things in the movie. Rasheed, I imagine yours map very, very well, but we'll see what we can do here. You can feel free to skip any of them. I won't be offended, but I try to keep them very answerable.
Okay,
First question: is this the best day of your life?
absolutely,
All right.
Yes.
absolutely. Since I woke up,
um, Rasheed, when was the last time you were at an open mic? Do you still do those to kind of like I guess muscle
yesterday
memory?
I was there yesterday because I went to a cigar lounge called the V Cut on Melrose. I still do work them, but I kind of got out of them because I realized this is my darn. I've been doing comedy for shit since 2011. So how many years is that?
It's 13.
Yeah, I've been out in LA doing it for 12 years. So I realized that's doing it so much. And then I would headline some shows. Then I go back to the open mics. But I got a good gauge and I know my voice now that I don't have to workshop them at open mics as much because what I noticed, you all know this, if they see you as an open micer, that's how they kind of treat you too. I know that to be true. Because every time I go to an open mic at LA, the Laugh Factory, the security guard, he'd be like, when I try to come back later at night for that show, he's like, well, weren't you just at open mic? He said that to me. I'm like, so I kind of pulled back on them. So I just do mostly shows now, and I get on the road when I can. But yeah, I don't do them as often anymore. And if I do, I go to one spot. I don't do what I used to do. I used to be at open mics for 2 years straight. I didn't miss one day off stage. 2 years straight, from 2013 to 2015. I didn't miss one day off stage. Not even on Christmas. I found an open mic to go to. And then when I didn't find an open mic, I would do it on the train. So not one day that I missed stage in 2 years. So, but I kind of definitely pulled back on the open mics. I don't do them as just mostly shows.
That is a grind. I thought my like 350 something day move streak was impressive, but that is very impressive. Tevin, have you ever done stand-up comedy?
No, I have not.
Never too
I
late to start.
I will say I watch a lot of stand-up comedy and like I have a little thing inside me that's like that would be fun, but I've not actually tried.
But you should try. He got a comedic voice. So a lot of those jokes in there, he threw at some of the actors.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
You just give it a shot, right?
Maybe one of these days I'll give it a shot.
The Thanksgiving story in this film was beautiful. I loved that part when you talked about your first Thanksgiving in LA. Where did you spend Thanksgiving last year?
Damn, where was I at last year? I think at Chuck House. Oh yeah, because I got sick on Thanksgiving, so I went to Chuck House. I saw Tehben. I was with Tehben and Chuck. So the guy who plays my agent in the movie, we were at his house for Thanksgiving. And I only stayed there for 30 minutes because I ended up getting sick.
You were sick before, I assume. Before you got there, right?
Yeah, it was building up, but his Thanksgiving was outside, so everything just started to woo. I said, I gotta go home, man. So but yeah, I was thankful for that though. But I remember those first couple years not having nowhere to go. And they invited me. I was so happy like a kid. Like I didn't tell them I was happy, but I was like, for real? Yeah, I act like I had some choice, but I was so that moment right there when they invited me to their house, I was like, oh shit, man. You have no idea how hungry I was and how much I wanted to be around some people to just show some love and stuff. So I'd never forget that moment in my life though.
Yeah, for sure. That is a cold time to be in LA as well. So just having family and having a hot meal is a huge moment. So
Absolutely. Sent me a lot of gratitude. I mean, I'm so grateful for them. Yeah.
For sure. Rasheed, when was the last time you were in Atlanta?
Actually, a week ago when we won Best Directors at the Atlanta Underground Film Festival.
Woo!
I
Very
was there
nice.
last week with my daddy. My daddy was there front and center.
Damn. So multiple stars from the film were there for the film
Yeah.
festival.
Yeah. He didn't like that. I called him out.
I assume you were there too, Tehben. I assume you came as well.
No, I missed that one. I was up in Alaska on a trip, work and family trip.
And flying helicopters.
Damn.
Yeah, I was on a glacier.
Damn. That's pretty awesome too. Very, very like soft spoken. Like, yeah, I was on helicopters on glacier. That's amazing.
Yeah, you just said that nonchalantly. And,
Awesome.
I ate dinner with Warren Buffett here.
That was the first festival that I missed though. So
And you won Best Director. Oh, that's
I know. I was very excited to find that out.
well, awesome. And I'm glad to hear you were back in Atlanta. I assumed in the movie it took a while for you to get back there after moving to LA. So I'm glad to hear you're able to travel more, able to go see your family more, which is awesome news.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing how things are elevating now. But I'm a stern believer that when you put out that good stuff, then the universe and God has a way of bringing that back to you. So everything is coming. We never chase money, chase the dream. None of these dreams are starting to come into fruition. So, and they're still growing. They're still growing as we still glowing.
Love it. And speaking of dreams growing, the film is coming out on September 20th, 2024 in theaters. You were both out promoting it, getting the word out, but I imagine there are other projects that you have in mind after people see All I've Got and Then Some. What can they look for next from you?
Yeah,
Yep,
I'll tell them about each point and you go about the other one.
Okay. Also,
So
small correction, it's September 6th.
September 6th. Oh, okay. My bad. All right. September 6th. Even sooner. Very soon.
September 6th.
Oh, yeah. Very soon.
And the red carpet starts at 7 p.m. But it's 3 showings that day. But the 7 o'clock one is going to be the red carpet one that all of us going to be there if anybody want to meet and greet or just talk some shit. But yeah, East Point is what we're gearing up to make right now. I'm letting tell you about the other project, but East Point is about it's a true story about my high school teacher who had this unorthodox way of teaching. He got fired. Over 300 students processed his firing for over 2 weeks in Atlanta, Georgia, East Point to be specific. His name is Mr. Keen Walker, one of the greatest motivators, educators of all time. Yeah.
That's awesome. That sounds great.
And then we have another film that we want to do that's kind of following up All I've Got in terms of style and approach, but it's going to be kind of like a buddy heist comedy.
So, can you get a quick synopsis? Like they're on pursuit to go rob a bank, but they never make it there because they get caught up in their blue collar mundane life. So all the things that they dealing with that they trying to avoid because they getting tired of being working paycheck to paycheck, and they're like, let's rob a bank. These guys that never did anything in their life, let's rob a bank and we can make it. And the wife calls, you forgot to take out the trash. Fuck. So they got to turn back around. So many different mishaps that's stopping them from getting to the bank.
By the time they make it there, it's closed. So
yeah,
best time to rob it when no one's there.
What's the name of the movie, Tehben?
I forget. We came up with the title like 2 weeks ago, and then I've been out of town.
Almost there.
Almost there. All right.
Wait, it was almost there. Maybe, probably not.
Yeah.
Perfect. And I love that it continues the A tradition. I talked to some indie directors earlier that like if you have an indie movie, you want to have like an ABC title, so it bubbles up at the top when the new releases. So I love it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. We realized that after we made this, we were like, oh, actually, that's good. It was good we did that.
Yeah.
And I do like having the synopsis because I was worried that this was going to be another Rasheed Stevens like biography where you're like, well, shit, like I'm desperate now. I'm really hungry. Let's go rob a bank, and then it doesn't come to fruition, thankfully. So
no.
Yeah, no. This was pure fiction.
Okay,
yeah,
sure. All right, yep. Gotcha. All right, so you can look forward to both of those films, but first, check out All I've Got and Then Some coming to theaters on September 6th, 2024. This is Rasheed Stevens and Tehben Dean. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you, David.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It was a lot of fun. Oh, yes. I love the wolf. Perfect.
You always got to talk.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much. It was a lot of fun. Take care.
Thank you.
You as well. Thank you.
That was Rasheed Stevens and Tehben Dean of All I've Got and Then Some, which is coming to theaters on September 6, 2024. It is a heartfelt coming-of-age drama based on Rasheed Stevens' own experience picking up, moving to LA, trying to make it in the comedy world, living out of his car. There are some very realistic experiences. There are some crazy experiences that also happened to him. And through it all, there's a nice through line of pursuing your dreams and kind of like trying to live your best life. If you like this interview, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me out a lot. Make sure all my new content goes straight to you. Thank you.